Gunther's WWE future is worrying. The WWE made huge mistakes on the second episode of Raw on Netflix, Monday night. Raw on Netflix still feels the same. Is Finn Balor really injured? Michael Cole's blunder during Penta's debut. A top champion is turning heel to set up Becky Lynch's return. WWE confirms Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio's breakup. A massive flaw with CM Punk and Seth Rollins exposed. Let's dive right in. The WWE made huge mistakes on the second episode of Raw on Netflix. WWE may have touted Raw on Netflix as a huge success, and in some aspects it was. The in-ring action was great all night. However, the constant need to show celebrities and legends was mostly to fill time and show off for Netflix officials. The second offering on Netflix was much better. It clocked in at a surprising 2.5 hours instead of last week's 3-hour show. Even though the latest episode was more palatable, the show still had some misfires. WWE made the following 5 mistakes on the latest episode of Raw. Number 1. Michael Cole's rough night. Having more freedom under Triple, he has been great for WWE commentators. They can say what they want instead of sounding like they're simply reading back what's dictated to them through their headsets. Even with that change, Michael Cole has taken a step back. His time on SmackDown with Kevin Owens was overtly annoying despite his claim to be an unbiased journalist. Cole continued this bad trend on Raw, calling The Miz a follower for allying with Karrion Kross against the Wyatt Six. It was more for self-preservation, as he tried to ditch Kross several times. Cole never said the same about Sami Zayn, who actually did follow Roman Reigns, as recently as War Games. Seth Rollins pointed this out to Zayn in a backstage segment. The longtime commentator also had a few botches, like claiming Jey Uso would win his first singles title if he beats Gunther at Saturday night's main event. He won the Intercontinental title last year. Number 2. Nia Jax showing up on Raw. After losing the WWE Women's title to Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jax's immediate direction would have been a rematch. Instead, she lost out in a number 1 Contenders Fatal 4-Way match, which Bayley won last week. Due to the transfer window, Jax cut off new Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley. The Eradicator claimed she was back on top before Jax interrupted. Jax also insulted Bayley, who attended the show since it was in her hometown of San Jose, California. Ripley cleanly defeated Jax at last year's Elimination Chamber event in Perth, Australia. Bayley versus Ripley would be more appealing than having Jax challenge Mommy again. Number 3. Treatment of the Intercontinental Champion. For the last several weeks, Intercontinental Champion Braun Breaker hasn't been used meaningfully. One week, he was cut off randomly and simply appeared in the crowd as a spectator for Raw's big debut on Netflix. The latest episode gave him one more thing to do: watch Sheamus face Ludwig Kaiser. After the Celtic Warrior won, he confronted Breaker, and the champ shoved his enemy. Why hasn't one of the brand's top stars been used more lately? Is he hurt? After the altercation, a match between the two was booked for Saturday night's main event. Is Breaker saving up all his energy to spear Sheamus back to Ireland? Number 4. A severe lack of balance in the commentary team. WWE cannot seem to land on permanent commentary teams across all 3 of its brands. For much of 2024, several names were pivoted between Raw, SmackDown, and even NXT. Michael Cole moved to Raw and was joined by Pat McAfee. While McAfee can be funny and insightful, it leaves Raw with a huge problem. Both commentators only cheer for the face side of the roster. Both McAfee and Cole act like fanboys, especially when they yeet for Jey Uso. While Corey Graves could be too much at some points, he at least was the yin to Cole's yang. Not having representation for the other side of the story feels a bit like piling on the heel, so Cole and Pat act more like fans than analysts. Number 5. Bye Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Six. The transfer window struck again, but if you hadn't listened to Karrion Kross's backstage segment, you probably missed it. As he was talking to The Miz, Kross mentioned that they couldn't tangle with the Wyatt Six because they were quietly moved to SmackDown. It was a bad way to end a feud that was interesting for both sides. Neither Kross nor the Six definitively won, so it feels like an excuse to move a group for the sake of it. Officials could have had a loser leaves Raw match, or at least done something more meaningful. It feels a bit like they didn't know what to do with the group because too much focus was on the debut on Netflix. Monday Night Raw on Netflix still feels the same. Former WWE head writer Vince Russo recently lambasted the company for continuing to produce the same type of show despite the move to Netflix. Raw premiered on the streaming giant last Monday. This week's Raw was a critical pit stop leading up to the Royal Rumble Premier Live event. Top stars like CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins declared their entry into the Rumble match. Lyra Valkyria was crowned the first women's Intercontinental Champion, defeating Dakota Kai in the final, and Penta made his WWE debut. In the main event, Damian Priest defeated Finn Balor in a brutal street fight. During the latest episode of Sportskeeda Wrestling's Legion of Raw, Russo criticized the flagship show's weekly programming. He argued that the show still felt the same despite the move to Netflix. He reasoned that the same production crew was working on the card, making the show feel old and stale. Like seriously, all the talk and all the chatter going into Netflix, everybody thinking this show is going to be different. And what did I say? Guys, if you have the same writers and you have the same producers, it's going to be the same show. It doesn't matter where you put it, it's the people putting the show together. We're in week 2, and we've got the same exact show that was on the USA Network. Last week, WWE managed to rope in several major stars, such as The Rock, The Undertaker, and John Cena, to show up for the premiere. It will be interesting to see if the company can manage to keep up the momentum in the months leading up to WrestleMania 41. Is Finn Balor really injured? Finn Balor suffered a devastating loss against Damian Priest on WWE Raw's second show on Netflix. Balor and Priest became engaged in a street fight all around the arena. At one point during the match, the former Universal Champion was about to be stretchered backstage, but the Archer of Infamy started attacking him. The match ended when the former Judgment Day member defeated Finn, despite distractions from Carlito and JD McDonough. Meanwhile, the stretcher angle during the match has sparked confusion among fans about Finn Balor's status. Many are wondering whether Balor is really injured or not. Now, WWE has not officially announced Balor's injury or such status following the match. However, following this angle, there is a strong belief that the veteran may be going on hiatus or could be written off television. If Balor had suffered any serious injury during the match, the officials would have likely given the X sign to stop the match immediately. The stretcher angle made the match appear more intense. Furthermore, even if WWE announces an injury for the former Universal Champion, it could just be part of the storyline to remove Finn from television. It remains to be seen how the storyline progresses in the coming weeks and what will happen to Finn Balor after this significant loss. After this street fight, fans on the internet expressed their concern for the former Universal Champion due to the poor booking he has been receiving. Despite having a World Tag Team title reign, Balor doesn't seem to have achieved any significant accolades recently. His continuous losses in singles matches have made fans fear that Triple H may no longer prioritize Finn Balor. Currently, the promotion's chief content officer, The Game, can book Finn better if he chooses to. Meanwhile, reports a few months ago indicated Balor is expected to receive a significant boost in 2025. One positive side of this loss could be that the CCO is finally preparing to give Finn the boost he deserves. The loss on Raw this week may have been a way to write him off television, only to set up a great comeback for him later. Michael Cole's blunder during Penta's debut. Former WWE head writer Vince Russo recently spoke about Penta debuting on Monday Night Raw this week. The luchador faced Chad Gable in his first bout on the Red brand. Penta put on an impressive show in his debut match against American-made leader Chad Gable. The masked star picked up the victory, hitting his opponent with the sacrifice followed by a Penta driver. On Sportskeeda Wrestling's Legion of Raw, Vince Russo said Cole put himself in a bad position when he said Penta was the best luchador Raw general manager Adam Pearce could find. The veteran writer felt Triple H possibly corrected Michael Cole, and the WWE announcer later stated that Penta was possibly second best after Rey Mysterio. "We got Gable and Penta. Cole says this, the best luchador Adam Pearce could find. Bro, you got Rey Mysterio on that roster." Russo continued. Cole said it, and when they came back from a commercial break, he kind of said Penta was the second best luchador right behind Rey Mysterio. I guarantee you Triple H was like, bro, you can't say that. Rey is sitting right here. You know what I mean? It's things like this. WWE Chief Content Officer Triple H also congratulated the mysterious luchador for finally debuting in the global juggernaut. It will be interesting to see how Penta fares against some of the most competitive men on the Raw roster. A top champion is turning heel to set up Becky Lynch's return. Becky Lynch is reportedly nearing her WWE return after nearly 8 months on the sidelines. Wrestling veteran Vince Russo believes that the man's first feud upon her comeback was set up on Raw last night when Lyra Valkyria won the Women's Intercontinental Championship. The 28-year-old star has a close relationship with Lynch. Valkyria has even said that she looks up to the multi-time WWE Women's Champion. The Irish upstart made history on Raw this week as she became the inaugural Women's Intercontinental Champion after defeating Dakota Kai in the final. On Sportskeeda Wrestling's Legion of Raw, Vince Russo said Valkyria's win set up Becky Lynch's return. He felt the man could feud with her protege upon coming back. "I think this is their opening to bring Becky back. That's what I think, to have a teacher versus student type match. The former WWE writer explained how he would book the potential rivalry, which could include Valkyria's heel turn. People love Becky, bro. It would be an uphill battle to turn her. It is. I would have Valkyria assume Becky's role and she replaces Becky and she's the pride of her country. I would go down that road. Becky Lynch was last seen in action in May 2023 when she lost a steel cage match to Liv Morgan. She has reportedly signed a new contract with WWE and could soon make her return. WWE confirms Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio's breakup. Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan have been an on-screen couple since last year. Their romance came to light at SummerSlam 2024 when Dirty Dom backstabbed Rhea Ripley for the Miracle Kid and helped the 30-year-old retain the Women's World Championship. Since Morgan lost her Women's World title to Rhea Ripley at the Raw's debut on Netflix, and Dominic Mysterio attempted to hug the Nightmare at the end of the bout, fans have wondered whether the romance between Morgan and Mysterio would conclude soon. The latest edition of Monday Night Raw was critical for the Judgment Day faction as Finn Balor contested in a street fight against former friend and stablemate Damian Priest. Both stars went to the next level and delivered a 5-star classic match by putting each other in risky spots. Ahead of their match, the Red Brand featured a segment between Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio, where Dirty Dom offered the 30-year-old a flower bouquet. Although Morgan accepted Dominic's present, she told him to arrange some other work, threw the flowers at Carlito, instructed him to put them somewhere, and left the locker room alongside Raquel. Many believe that based on the segment featuring the Lovebirds, the Stamford-based promotion must have subtly confirmed that Liv may soon dump Dominic Mysterio and continue her solo run. According to some fan theories, the 30-year-old star was with Dirty Dom to get her vengeance on Rhea Ripley. Their last women's standing match has seemingly marked a perfect end to their saga. The Miracle Kid could sideline Dominic Mysterio, focus on her singles run, and eventually regain the title. The Royal Rumble is just a month away, and fans are highly anticipated for the event, especially for annual Rumble matches. Leaving Dominic Mysterio aside, Liv Morgan could announce that she now aims at newer goals and wants to main event WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. Liv could officially announce herself for the Women's Royal Rumble match to fulfill her dream of main eventing WrestleMania 41 this year. That said, the proposed angle above is speculative, and what the Triple H-led creative team has in store for Morgan remains to be seen. A massive flaw with CM Punk and Seth Rollins exposed. Former WWE head writer Vince Russo feels the segment involving CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre on Raw could have been booked better. The 3 stars set the tone for the Monday night show this week. CM Punk kicked off the latest edition of Raw by announcing that he will be entering the Men's Royal Rumble this year. He was interrupted by Seth Rollins, who was irate after his loss last week. Rollins claimed that he would redeem himself by winning the Rumble this year. Drew McIntyre also showed up and announced himself for the 30-man match, claiming that someone needed to stop Roman Reigns. On Sportskeeda Wrestling's Legion of Raw, Vince Russo complained that the 3 biggest stars of the show were not seen after the first segment. The veteran writer felt that top names, such as CM Punk, McIntyre, and Rollins, should have been featured throughout the program to keep fans hooked and stop viewership from falling. Here you have arguably the 3 biggest stars on the show. After the first segment, they're gone. That's not how you write television, bro. Russo continued. It doesn't make any sense, man. These are your big stars, man. They should be on the show from beginning to the end. With this week's announcement, 5 former world champions have entered the Royal Rumble match. This includes John Cena, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre. With such star power in the Rumble, it will be hard to predict who emerges as the eventual winner. Gunthers WWE future is worrying. Despite being the WWE World Heavyweight Champion since SummerSlam 2024, Gunther could potentially suffer a big downfall if he loses his title, according to Vince Russo. The ring general won the world title from Damian Priest, and despite having a few good matches, some fans and pundits haven't been overly thrilled by the current championship run. Gunther's next challenger stepped up on this week's Raw as Jey Uso secured another shot at the World Heavyweight Championship for Saturday night's main event. Vince Russo opined on Sportskeeda Wrestling's Legion of Raw that Gunther's WWE future doesn't look too bright as the Imperium leader could fall in the pecking order after he is booked to drop his title. While he might retain over Jey Uso again, Vince Russo felt Gunther wasn't presented well as a world champion thus far, and the booking has done a lot of harm to the superstar's aura as a top guy. Chris, I'm telling you right now, I can see the writing on the wall. When they take this belt off of Gunther, he is going to fall into oblivion and mean nothing. Zero, because they are booking this dude horribly. Horribly! And he is the champion. Vince Russo explained that as Gunther was undefeated during his time before entering the world title picture, his Intercontinental Championship reign seemed much better than his work with Raw's top prize. Russo was disappointed that WWE had wasted Gunther's momentum and believed many other stars faced similar problems. Vince clarified that he wasn't being petty about his constant criticism of WWE and was just looking out for the talents who deserved better. Well, I guess what they were hanging on was that he was undefeated. That's what they were riding. We don't have that anymore. Bro, talk about an afterthought. It's very disappointing to see people with a lot of talent getting booked horribly. Gunther will defend his title against Jey Uso next, and the outcome of the match could be a crucial indicator of what WWE thinks of one of its world champions.